I'm not going anywhere. I'm not retiring yet, I guess.
I guess not.
Now we are live.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Bloomington Zoning Board of Appeals on September 16th at 4:06, I think. And Bob, could you call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Ballatini?
Here.
Mr. McFarland?
Here.
Mr. Straza?
Here.
Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Mr. Noonan? Miss Williams?
Here.
And Chairperson Harris?
I'm here.
Okay, we do have a quorum.
We have a quorum. So Councilor Boyle, would you explain the virtual meeting stipulations, please?
Well, just very briefly, this statement gets a little shorter each time as we get more regular with our use of Zoom. This meeting is being made available via live stream and allows for both virtual participation and physical presence at City Hall based on amendments to the Open Meetings Act. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to review the minutes. Does anybody have any comments about the minutes or corrections? I made a few, but I've already turned them in.
I saw that my name was misspelled on a page, which is really not a big deal. It's on page 7, third paragraph down.
Thank you. But you didn't see that I was called chairman twice on page 7, did you? Okay. Anything else? Okay, can we have a vote to approve the minutes?
A motion.
I second.
A motion.
And we will do a roll because of the virtual meeting. So Mr. Ballatini?
Approved.
Mr. McFarland?
Approved.
Mr. Straza?
Approved.
Mr. Rivera?
Approve.
Miss Williams?
Approved.
And Chairperson Harris?
Approved. Okay, meeting minutes approved. So let's go to the regular agenda. The first item is Z1520, a public hearing to review and action on a petition for a variance submitted by Jonathan Thompson for the approval of a variance to allow an 8-foot increase to the maximum allowed width of the driveway approach in a single-family home for the subject property located at 54 Fetter Circle, Bloomington 61704.
Ms. Harris, if I might, I'm sorry, that applicant is not on the call right now and is also not at City Hall. We're also waiting for the applicant for case number 2 to join. I'm just throwing this out there if it might be appropriate to move to the third case where the applicant is on the phone.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would love to do that. Expedite. Okay, we'll move to Z1820.
I thought I was live.
Public hearing review and action.
I'm sorry, I maybe I'm mistaken. Is Samsung Galaxy, is that?
Yeah, Jonathan Thompson.
Okay, let me change
Okay,
his
well,
name,
let's
but
proceed.
apologize. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm not used to these things, so.
Okay, could you,
None of us are.
could you state? I'm sorry?
Oh, I was
Which
just
one?
saying none of us are, that's all. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Chair,
Okay, could you,
which one are we on, guys?
the first one?
Z1520, and we normally open the public hearing and then have staff provide their report. Is that how you want?
Yeah. Do I need to speak now?
No.
We'll have a staff report first. If that's, Katie?
Yeah, Ms. Harris, do you just want to start over and introduce the case and we'll just kind of forget that I interrupted us the first time.
Okay, we'll start with Z 1520, a public hearing, review and action on a petition for a variance submitted by Jonathan Thompson for the approval of a variance to allow an 8-foot increase to the maximum allowed width of the driveway approach in a single-family home for the subject property located at 54 Fetter Circle, Bloomington, 61704, Ward 2. Okay, and now can we have finding of fact?
Okay, staff is recommending in favor of the request for the 8-foot increase into the maximum driveway width at 54 Fetter Circle. Here is a photo of the house, the property. As you can see, it has a 3-car garage. Zoning map. The property is zoned R1C, single family residential district, and is located on the curve of Fetter Court. The lot size is 82 feet by 120 feet. Here's just another aerial view of the neighborhood. The neighborhood's improved with single family homes. This development is on Bloomington's west side in the Heartland Hills subdivision, and you could see that the road kind of curves, which is contributing to the need for the variance. I'll explain that in just a second. Here are just some other photos of properties in the neighborhood. Property to the north, on the north side of the curve, and then also the property to the south. Property to the south has a wider driveway, although staff was unable to find any variances that would have granted that. But that driveway is larger than the 24 feet, which is required by code. I believe it's about a little bit over 30 feet. Yes. There are also other driveways in the subdivision that exceed the 24-foot maximum behind the sidewalk. Just some other photos of surrounding properties. As I mentioned, it's improved with single-family homes. The applicant is requesting to widen the driveway. Before you is a picture of the site plan. The area in blue shows where the proposed width of the driveway would be added, so the additional concrete that would go there. The current driveway is about 18 feet, a little bit over 18 and a half feet wide, and the code allows up to 24 feet behind the sidewalk. As I mentioned, the property is located on a curve. Its location and its siting makes it a little bit challenging backing in and out of the 3-car garage that was built on the home. And with the curve there's on-street parking, and so it can be, when we did our staff did the site visit, we noticed that it is, one, it's kind of an awkward movement backing up onto that road. And 2, it also is, there can be some visibility issues if there are cars on the street at that time. So widening the driveway kind of reduces a distraction for the driver and can help, make it easier to maneuver in and out of the driveway and safer to maneuver in and out of the driveway. Looking at the standards for a variance, based on the property's location near that curve, staff found that there is a practical difficulty and a hardship on this specific property that's related to the street that it sits on. The minimum action necessary, the applicant could add a 2-foot wide extension on the driveway without needing a variance. However, it's, in order just to make it, to reduce any additional distractions, just going the width of the actual 3 cars, anything exceeding the 24 feet would need a variance. The hardship staff found is related to its location on the curve. And since there are other properties in the area that aren't located on the curve, but have the wider driveway anyways, we don't feel like this would give the applicant special privilege. In fact, this applicant has a hardship related to their property, according to staff's analysis, that make it kind of a unique situation. And then the variance would not be detrimental to the neighborhood character. It's consistent with other driveways in the area. It's not, exceeding the width of the garage. It's keeping in line with that. So for those reasons, staff is recommending in favor of this variance at 54 Fetter Circle. We can answer any questions.
Are there any questions about the staff findings? If not, can we proceed to the testimony and swear in Mr. Thompson?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
Yes, ma'am.
and state your name and address.
My name is Jonathan Thompson, 54 Fetter Circle, Bloomington, Illinois, 61705. Yes, I drive a 3/4 ton truck, and my wife has a bigger vehicle for our kids as well, and it's very short garage. And even if I put my truck on her side and the bigger side, I cannot get into my kitchen. I can't even get into my house. So I have to put it on the right side. The only way I can really park in is at an angle if I'm straight, or if I want to even try to get it inside there, it's really difficult to maneuver backwards in there. And I typically always have somebody, the neighbor across from me, her mother lives there with her, and she always parks on that side. And really, no, unless you would walk pretty good distance, like there's nowhere else for her to park. And it's really difficult and tight. I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old in the back seat. People, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit come around that curve, and it's just, I don't like to take a lot of extra time worrying about someone coming around that curve and the maneuver of getting out of that with my vehicle. And I don't have, from what I read, my 3/4 ton truck is within size range of a normal size vehicle, and so it's not having anything that's abnormal. It's just making it really difficult for us and our family.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions of Mr. Thompson?
I've got a question regarding the general information says Justin Thompson, and he's introducing himself as Jonathan. So can I have some clarification in reference to that?
I'm not sure. I've only ever gone by Jonathan Thompson. That must have been a misprint or something.
Yeah, I think that was staff. The application says Jonathan Thompson, but doing the report, Justin Thompson, for whatever reason, was put down.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure we're talking to the right guy. Well, no conspirators.
Understand.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there's anybody else who wishes to speak to this case. Is that correct, Katie?
That is correct. No one else registered, and I don't believe anybody is here at City Hall wishing to speak to this item.
Okay, so can we proceed then with a vote?
Well, I make a motion accepting the findings of fact.
I second.
A second.
I missed who that was. Was that Miss Michael Straza or Michael McFarland?
It was me, Michael Strauss.
Okay, Michael Straza. Okay, thank you. And was there any discussion, or we're moving forward with the?
No.
Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes.
can we take this is going to be a little backwards, but can we have a motion to adopt the findings of fact as set forth in the staff report?
I
Thought
thought
I
we
did.
just did that.
I thought that was just on the petition.
Hmm.
So in other words, when we pass a petition, the first thing you would normally do is adopt findings of fact. And in this case, those are set out in the staff report with staff recommendations. And then after the findings of fact are decided upon, then we usually take a motion on the petition itself. I think there we went right to the petition. Isn't that correct, from the way the motion was stated?
You may have misheard, George, but Mr. Ballatini did specifically mention findings of fact as per the
Oh,
staff.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But
I
it was
missed
a
that
good
then.
lesson.
Excuse me. So I guess now we go to the petition. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, can we proceed to the items in the petition?
So I move that we accept the application for the variance.
Second.
And I'll switch up was there any discussion?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to switch up the roll call now. Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes. Okay, enjoy safe backing out now.
Thank you. So how does this work now? Will it get sent in the mail?
We will follow up with you, Mr. Thompson. Staff will send you a notice of the decision, and then we'll talk about next steps and permitting.
Okay, thank you very much.
No petition is approved. And we'll move on to case Z1620, public hearing, review, and action on a petition for a variance submitted by Charles Rosen and Ann Strong for the approval of a variance to allow a 1360 square foot increase in the 1,000 maximum square foot maximum floor area requirement of an accessory structure for a new garage at 1 Moore Road, Bloomington 61701, Ward 4. I believe we have a witness in opposition to this petition. Can we record that statement, please?
Thank you. We did receive an emailed commentary, and I believe the applicant is also here. The commenter is also here in person to provide testimony when we get to that portion of the public hearing. If you'd like, Ms. Harris, I can start with the staff report, and then we'll introduce that commentary that you were discussing.
Okay, thank you, Katie.
I can- Okay. The case Z1617, let me see, sorry. Staff found that the petition generally meets standards for a variance. However, we at the time we prepared our report, we had not heard anything from residents. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't impacting the neighborhood character. So our recommendation was supportive, pending any opposition from residents, in which case we would ask.
Just for the record, I think it's Z1620, right?
Yes.
Not 17.
Did I say 17? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, 16. So all right, here's a photo of the property. The property is zoned R1A. It is a single family home. It is a large estate lot. R1A is our low density single family zoning district with a minimum lot size of a half acre, sorry. This lot is about 2.3 acres. 2.03 acres. It's improved with a single-family home that's approximately 9,622 square feet. It's a very large piece of land in the center of the city, a little different than some of our other lots that we have, our typical single-family lots. The property is adjacent to other single-family homes, some of which are on estate lots, some of which are on kind of a more standard lot size. These are just some photos of the surrounding developments in the adjacent zoning districts. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a structure that exceeds our maximum size requirements for accessory structures. So there is an existing carport that's 9,000. Oh my gosh, it's Wednesday, guys. There's an existing carport on the property that's 966 square feet. The carport was built around 2002. The applicant is requesting the variance to facilitate the construction of a new enclosed structure, a new garage. And so the zoning ordinance for accessory structures has a maximum requirement of either 1,000 square feet, 1/3 the rear yard size, or less than the principal structure. And because this is such a large lot and the structure is large, it meets those two requirements. The third requirement, 1,000 square feet, is not met, and that is the requirement that the applicant is requesting the variance from. Here's kind of a photo of the property. The box in red shows the general areas to where the garage will go, and then there's a rendering on your screen of what the garage will look like. The purpose behind the accessory structure setbacks is to facilitate light air circulation to regulate the amount of impervious surfaces on a site. Given the larger lot size, their staff is supporting this because we felt that there's adequate circulation, there's adequate, pervious area. The additional structure and the additional size is not going to seem out of proportion or scale to the lot. But we do understand that there could be concerns from neighbors regarding, the size of the structure. And so that's why our recommendation was that it generally met the standards for a variance. So the property has physical hardship or practical difficulty. It's a unique piece of land. It's located within it's not located within a standard subdivision, and it still maintains the general intention of an accessory structure in which the structure is less than and subordinate to a principal structure. We've had requests in the past for structures that exceed the 1,000 square feet, but they also tend to exceed the size of the house or exceed the size of the rear yard. And so, in those cases, the principal structure is now kind of subordinate to that accessory structure garage. In this case, it would still be proportional and relational to that. 1,000 square feet is allowed by right. The applicant could do that without a variance. Anything exceeding that would necessitate a variance. The size of the lot is larger than other lots in the community. There was a variance granted on the lot just south of this for an accessory structure. That was granted, I believe it was in 2012, to allow a larger footprint and a height variance. And then the area is pretty well screened. There's quite a bit of foliage around it, so it's possible the structure will not be visible from the street. As I mentioned, we did receive an email from a nearby resident, and I can share that with you. And then I also received some photos from the applicant, which I can pull up on the screen well. If you give me 1 second to figure out technology. And I can answer any questions you might have in the interim. Okay.
Katie,
Yes.
a quick question on the structure where it's going. I was looking at the map. I'm just trying to figure out where exactly is it compared to the other houses? How close is it to the next existing house? And even though their lot's big, is it right against their property line or against somebody else's house? Will the people next to them be able to see it?
So the property in your application, you have a site plan. 1 second, let me switch back to the aerial. I think that would be helpful. Okay. So in the site plan, in your packet, there is a site plan. It shows that the structure will be 12 feet off of the east lot line here and 10 feet off of the south lot line. That's set back further than the current carport. On the south side, the property owners have a garage, an accessory structure. And if you go back to the aerial, on the north side, or on the east side, I'm sorry, there did not appear, the house is not, it's not right on the lot line. There is a 40-foot setback that's required by the zoning ordinance for the rear yard in the R1A district.
I was just making sure that structure right below that that's a garage. That's another. Okay, so that's somebody else's yard with another garage.
That's the garage that received the variances previously.
Okay.
Is that just a storage facility or is that a garage for cars?
I believe it's an actual garage. It also, a height variance was also requested at that time as well. So I believe it's a garage, and then there may be an apartment unit or something, not necessarily an apartment, but like a room in there. But you can't see it from the street, and I didn't walk on the property. Just looking at past permits, it was hard to say.
Are there any questions or comments on the staff findings?
If you'd like, Ms. Harris, I can also pull up that the email we received.
Is she there? Did you?
Yes, and the
Does she
applicant is here as well. Or
Does she have? Does Ms. Porter have to swear in? To make
yes.
Statement?
Yes, we received the email from Kathy Pratt. She is
Kathy
here
Pratt,
at City Hall and can speak to it as well.
I would think that it's more appropriate to open testimony from the applicant first, and then we would go to those in opposition.
I agree.
Okay, let's move to testimony. Would you please swear in? I'd like to swear in the applicant, please. Who is there? Could you state your name and address and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I believe he is on the phone and maybe muted. George, is it *6?
That would be *6, yes. You need to hit *6 to unmute your mic.
Hello?
There you go.
Hello. Okay.
Hi.
Okay, please
Hi,
state your
this is
name,
Ann
address,
Stroik.
and. Hi, Ann.
Okay.
Please swear to tell the
this
truth,
is
the whole
Ann
truth,
Stroik.
and nothing
Can
but
you-
the truth. Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you.
This is
Okay, I didn't know.
Bob
Oh.
Ricella. I'm with Charles Rosen and his wife, Lisa. I'm helping them with this. I'm the contractor that filed the application for them.
Okay, well,
Okay, do you guys-
whoever is going to speak, please state your name and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Bob Varicella,
Is
and
it-
I swear to tell the truth.
Okay. And we'd like to hear your project description, please.
So the existing carport that's on the property will be taken down. The new garage will be built in its place. We've designed the garage around a lot of the existing trees. So we're only taking one very small pine tree down, so that the garage will be screened with all the natural trees that are already here. That's why there's only one garage door on the north side of the garage on the west elevation, so that we can keep all the trees that were existing. We don't feel that it's a very big impact based on the size of the lot and really not being able to view it from the street. To the south is the other garage Katie was talking about. That's I think it's 2 stories. It looks like there's a finished room on the top of it. Charles is here also, and I think he would like to say a couple things, if that's okay.
It's okay, Charles, will you state your name and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Excuse me, could we have it where we'll ask one witness at a time so that, let's see if there's any questions for Mr. Rosen from either the commission or potentially from the public. I'm not Mr. Rosen, I'm sorry, Mr. Varicella. And then we could move on to different witnesses one at a time.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Okay.
Hearing none, can we move on to the second witness?
My name is Charles Rosen, and I do promise to tell the whole truth. What I was going to say is that the appearance of the property, the trees, et cetera, are of great importance to us as well. And we specifically are designing this garage to preserve the trees and the sight lines. The property, if you walk on the street, is surrounded by a fence and very large trees. And so the only way you can see even the trees that are in front of the garage is actually if you kind of walk onto the property. The trees that are in front of the garage, that's specifically where we're not putting garage doors, where, you know, ideally if we didn't care about such things, that would make the garage a lot more functional. We specifically agree that preserving as many trees as possible is desirable. So we completely agree that the neighborhood has a special character that should be preserved. We are specifically working with a contractor not to put up a Morton building or something like that, but to put up a structure that will be aesthetic appealing and not look like a commercial building of any sort. Will look like a garage. Furthermore, in 1 or 2 references from the individual opposing, she refers to it as a shop, which to me implies some sort of commercial quality to it. It is absolutely not a commercial quality. I'm a surgeon, and this is for a car and motorcycle collection, and for all the various implements it takes to take care of all those trees and the pool and things like that. So we do need a substantive amount of space for that stuff. But I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I think you also have a bathroom in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are
there any other comments or questions of Mr. Rosen?
Regarding the bathroom, I work on and restore my own cars and motorcycles. Well, not the cars. I just do oil changes on cars. But motorcycles, I take care of them, and So I'm out in the garage for hours at a time, and the garage is a decent distance from the house. And when your hands are greasy or you need to use the facilities, going into the house is something that creates potential problems with my wife when I'm a mess. And so the ability to wash my hands, use the bathroom while working in the garage and not coming into the home was considered a desirable thing.
I've got two questions. Mr. Rosen, is there a particular reason, or can you speak to the fact why you couldn't build the existing structure at that 1,000 square foot versus going bigger?
I mean, to be modest, I have a dozen motorcycles and 6 cars and room for a tractor and the pool equipment, and that won't fit.
Okay, was that Mr. Rosen or was that Mr. Vercelli?
That was me, Charles Rosen, sorry.
It appeared to be Mr. Rosen.
Okay, thank you. My second question on that is the individuals that have the properties that adjacent to that area, have you spoke to them?
All but one of them.
I'm sorry?
I said I've spoken directly to all but one of them, and they've been in support.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairperson Harris, I just, Mr. Varicella had emailed some photos to the commission right before the meeting. I can pull those up if you would like to see them.
Sure, thank you.
So you should be able to see the, Mr. Varicella, I don't know if you can see the photos. If you would like, just tell me when to switch.
Katie, are you going to have an ability to mark these in for the record?
Yes, we can include them. We'll mark them petitioners Exhibit A
And then number them,
B.
particular thing.
These are two photos of, I can let the petitioners describe them, but there's two photos. We can mark them both A and B.
Okay, so this could be A and B. I get you. Okay.
I'm going to let Charles describe them if that's okay.
Sure.
The two photos are taken from approximately where the northwest corner of the garage would be. You can see on the left-hand side of the photo are some of the pine trees that are staying. They're just creeping into the corner there. So I'm trying to show where the garage will peek out from behind those trees and then the view towards the street. Now, there's a big tree in the way, and I had to get in just the right spot, as you can see, to actually see where the street is. Because you'll see to the left, there's a large amount of trees and foliage, and directly west, behind that big tree, are a number of huge trees and bushes. And from this angle, you can't even make out the fence. So that shows how well screened this area is. So I'm just showing that if you actually went onto the entrance of the driveway, you would have to look, that's your only sight line that would see the small corner of the garage. The other picture is just like if you were to look straight west rather than trying to look out to the driveway. So what somebody just walking down the street would see, and that picture shows that you actually can't see the road at all.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Rosen about this?
So that picture is from looking due west.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful. Thank you. So now we'd like to have testimony from Ms. Porter.
Do we have anyone else speaking in favor of the petitioner?
Yes, we
Well,
do.
Yeah, so this is Ann Stryken. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can. Okay,
Okay, then I also give my oath to tell the truth.
thank you, Dr. Strunk.
All right. So, I'm very sensitive to that neighborhood. I grew up there on 1915 Cloud Street. In fact, I know Kathy Pratt because she lived 3 blocks from where I was and lived on Jackson. So, you know, we've all known each other for years. And I agree that we want to keep that neighborhood looking pretty much the same as it has because it's something that all of us have enjoyed. So much so that my parents lived in the pink house until they passed away. And then my brother is my backdoor neighbor, who is Charles had spoken to him about this building as well. So we were very sensitive about how this was going to look, and we reviewed the plans. And both my brother and I agree that this would be a good addition, and it would be well set, or we thought it was in the right setting and seemed very appropriate, and would be consistent with maintaining the standards of our neighborhood.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Dr. Strunk? Any comments or questions? The facade will be similar to the house?
I'm sorry, you asking me that?
Yes.
I couldn't hear your question. Would you ask again, please?
Is the facade similar to that of the house?
Oh, you mean the decor on the outside of the building? I think it's
Yeah.
not exactly the, no, it's not exactly the same. It's a little bit different, but I think it's very cohesive with what is already had been done on the house. I think it looks good together, and I architecturally approve of it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, can we have testimony? There is testimony from Ms. Pratt.
can we just, is there anyone else speaking for the petitioner? Okay. Ms. Pratt?
I swear to tell, I appreciate the opportunity of being here and hearing what the plans are. I was not able to get any information about some of my questions before the hearing today, and so that is part of the reason why I am here. I do know Ann, we do go way back in the neighborhood, and she's always been a good neighbor, and I want to be a good neighbor. I am a reasonable person most of the time, and I just was interested to hear what was going to happen with this proposed building, because the plans that are part of the packet label this as a shop and not as a garage. And so I was very concerned about what was going to take place in that building. If the main purpose of that building is storage, so that it won't be, it won't have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, then I don't have a problem with it. Very much has been made today of the idea that this building will be screened from the residential neighbors who completely surround this property. And I agree that I probably wouldn't be able to see it if everything remains the way it is. But all you have to do is have driven around Washington Street in recent years, and you know that screening can change. And so one of my purposes also in being here today was to ask that if part of granting the variance could be that screening remain in place. I understand Dr. Rosen doesn't sound like he has any intention of removing it, and for that I am very grateful. But I think part of the reason why people are accepting of this idea of a building that's almost 2.5 times the size that's allowed by the zoning is that this will be screened. And so I think it's important that that screening remain in place. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you. So we have ascertained that it is only a storage unit, and I assume that that lays your concerns about that part of it. And I believe Dr. Rosen has said that the screening is going to remain. Am I correct about that?
Sure, it's in the record. It's going to remain.
Would you like Dr. Rosen to speak on that?
Yes.
I believe he just did say that it will remain.
Yes, we want to preserve those trees because we think they're beautiful, and we also think that if the garage were to stand out in just in the middle of the property, it would not look attractive. And so we think that keeping the wooded nature of the lot is very important.
It's in the record. That does not really allay my concerns. I believe Dr. Rosen 100%, but what if he leaves right away? I mean, then, and the next person takes it all down.
I mean, I'm not sure what protocols there are for that, for the future of the variance. Is
Ms. Harris, so.
Mr. Boyle or Katie?
Well, the variance in terms of the building and so on, that's going to survive ownership. It won't, you know, for example, when Mr. Rosen is no longer the owner or Ms. Stroink, when it goes to different owners, that building will still be there. It's not required to be taken down.
And per the ordinance, so in 17-8, which is our variance section of chapter 44 under H, the zoning board may impose conditions and restrictions upon the premises benefited by a variation as may be necessary to comply with the standards established in this section to reduce or minimize the effect of such variance upon the property in the neighborhood and to better carry out the general intention of the ordinance. So George, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like our ordinance allows for a condition to be placed on this variance and it being granted.
I think you're right, Katie.
So that condition would then also, like George is saying, the variance would exist, the condition would exist, would be documented in the notice of decision and in the decision from the zoning board.
Katie, could you put the site plan up one more time?
In regard to that, Katie and George, going to what her question is, when Mr. Rosen or Ms. Stroink passes this property on to another owner, this variation, even if we submit and put a condition on there of keeping the coverage in there, that provision, that condition wouldn't survive.
Yes, it will.
I think there's a couple ways to do it. And Bob, can you see the site plan now?
Yeah, I can. And I just wanted to elaborate that if this is not a commercial neighborhood, but oftentimes within our zoning ordinance is the requirement for transitional buffer yards between adjoining residential uses. We could add some sort of, you could consider adding some provision to maintain a minimum width buffer yard directly adjacent to the east and the south portion of the structure.
I would,
Could
with
kind of
respect to the
elaborate on
condition, I would think that the condition could survive. I mean, part of it could be that it also be recorded with the property. Or be
Well,
recorded, you know, at the recorder's office.
I guess my concern would be that trees do die, and trees do get cut down when they pass. and what is the way to address this concern or not concern. It's just something we need to discuss. Now, whether or not it needs to be recorded, that's for legal to decide. I haven't seen us record those in the past.
Well, I guess one question I would have with Mr. Rosen and Ms. Drunk is how long have you owned the property? And what is your intent on ownership? Mr. Rosen?
Hi, yes, I was waiting to be allowed to speak. Currently, the property is owned by Dr. Stroink, and my intention, if I'm able to build this garage, which obviously is going to cost me a significant amount of money, would be to enjoy this garage for a very, very, very long time.
I wonder if it would be okay to have a conditional provision that there will be some kind of screening. If the tree should die, there will be some kind of replacement. There will be some kind of screening maintained as to maintain it as it is.
Ms. Stroink is on the line, but she's muted as well. So if she wanted to provide testimony, she'd have to hit *6 to unmute.
Oh, good. So I'm unmuted now. Thank you. No, I mean, I think that, I mean, I agree that having that provision is fine with me, because that's what I would like to see, that's a beautiful yard. In case you were wondering, I've owned it for over, I think, 36 years. And then that doesn't count my childhood of having basically lived in that, played in that lot for since the age of 5. So I have some very deep roots to that lot and sentiment, and completely agree a provision of maintaining it is fine with me. So.
Okay, so given what could happen naturally, you will maintain some sort of screening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stroink.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or considerations? Does that answer Ms. Pratt?
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with the screening.
That it will be maintained as is, that it won't be reduced in any way.
Then that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion to approve the staff report with the provision?
Just one second. Just to clarify the condition, the potential consideration on this condition. Katie, do you have access to the zoning ordinance where it references buffer yard standards or anything like that? The screening? Do you have your definitions there? Can you maybe give us a feel of how the ordinance would say, how that would read, so that we could reference that if that's the direction the board wants to go, that we could reference something so that staff has a standard to apply for the future screening?
Yes, I can, let's see, this is in Division 13, that's our landscape section. There are a few different transitional yard landscape requirements. Let me find those and pull those up on the screen for everybody to see. I think if you probably, like Bob, what you're saying, if you can tie it to one of these transitional yards, that probably would be the easiest way to enforce in the future in the event that something is taken down, that something else would be put up that's similar. Let me share this screen. So at the moment, there's a combination of deciduous and coniferous trees on the property. So maybe one of these other yards might be, is that what you're looking for, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think everybody's content with the current screening, but if something did fail in the future, we want to be able to hold them to a standard that future planners would be able to enforce against the property owner based on neighborhood concerns or complaints.
So
Just the
typically,
language?
yeah, I would say if there's a specific transitional yard that would be maintained, I mean, typically between, detached single family and business or multifamily. So if you went between single family and business, you're going to have this transitional yard here, which is a mix of deciduous and flowering trees at a minimum of 10 feet setback, which is probably pretty standard to what's there now. Does that make sense? Or if there's a different transitional yard that the board thinks would be more appropriate. This second one here is between single family and multifamily.
No.
And the first one is between single family detached and townhomes.
So there isn't one single family and single family.
Well, single family attached and detached would be this first one. So
Okay.
Single family attached would be like townhomes, and single family detached would be single family homes separated. So that's probably single family.
Seems to be the closest.
So Katie, are you suggesting based off which one of these, just the density, what we're looking for because of the area so well developed, that we want more of the TY3, more of that look because it's more dense instead of being very sparse like the first one? Does that make sense?
There may also be one that the applicant is amenable to as well, but yes, I mean, based on those photos that we saw, are you looking at the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, so these were the photos that were submitted. It's kind of a mix of evergreens and deciduous trees there. So it's in the event that there were a new property owner and they decided to, try to thin out some of this, what would it be replaced with? Staff would be able to reference that specific landscape standard in the future. See if I can pull.
And I guess there's two ways to proceed with this. One is to have it, and it sounds like this is where we've gone. We're having a discussion now as to whether the condition should be added to the request. And then apparently we're going to be voting on the findings and then on whether the request is allowed or not. Another way, to go would be to vote on the findings, to vote on the petition, and then vote to amend it to add the request. It sounds like, it may be a kind of a deal breaker for people for there not to be screening. And so, I guess if we are talking about the screening, there are two ways we can go. It sounds like one is that Mr. Mart was talking about has some more specific language. It sounds like the other one that we had been talking about says that there'll be adequate screening to accomplish, and we could put just more generally, just say to accomplish that it won't be seen from and indicated, that way. So either one of those is viable. It might be helpful to have a motion on the floor that we're discussing, or at least that we get to a motion and then in the next few minutes.
I would like to make the
Either
motion
add
that
the condition-
we include the condition with adequate screening to be maintained.
I'll second.
Was that Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion and second.
And can you describe a little bit adequate to accomplish what? That might be giving a little bit more of a standard for.
Okay. Consistent with what is presently there, maintained consistently with what's there at present.
Katie, is that something that could be kept a record of in the event it needed to be enforced? I mean, what's presently there?
I mean, I suppose the existing, those photos that we received kind of document that. Bob, is there another way that you think we'd be able to establish a baseline?
I just think it's easier for staff to reference one of the established transition yard standards. The TY1 seems appropriate between single family to single family. It's their intent to maintain this current screening. We just need some long-standing standard of how it would look. And I personally would be most comfortable with, if you are going to establish a standard, specifically reference the TY1 or any of the other ones for staff in the future to recognize.
Then let's do the condition that sets the standards that meet the existing and/or would meet TY1.
Will that accomplish screening from the street as well, Bob?
The proximity of the garage is in the southeast corner of the property, and it appears to me
so that won't be an issue.
It's almost 200 feet away. It's a very large lot. I'm not sure on the dimensions, but it seems quite a distance back from the road.
Just a question, George. Is it necessary to see if there are any concerns about this condition from the applicant?
I think the applicant already said that she was
I
fine
think that's
with
fine.
that.
My understanding was they had no objection to it, but certainly we can offer them an opportunity to address it.
We have no objection if one of those, there's 3 trees she's referencing, and if one of those trees were to die, we would want to replace it.
Thank you. So I think we do have a motion to pass findings with the stipulation amended.
Well, is that how you want to go all the way to accepting the findings and adding the, maybe we
Yes,
should,
I would like to do that.
So this
I'm
is
trying to think how to do that. I thought
to
what the
pass
motion
it
was
with
to
with-
add the condition to the request for continuance, for variation. So can we just vote as to whether that should be added and then vote on the findings of fact and then on the petition with the condition?
Okay. Do I have a motion to
well, okay. You had already
accept
given
the condition?
I second.
Okay, so we had a motion, George, we had a motion on the floor from, if the first motion could be withdrawn and then the second one on the condition be accepted.
I withdraw my first.
Okay, but the first one was Ms. Harris and Mr. Rivera.
I withdraw, yes. Yes, I withdraw my motion.
Okay. Now we're back on track. And then this new motion is to to accept a condition regarding.
Well, it's adding it. It's adding it to the consideration of the petition.
Right. Okay,
I move
Mr.
that
Bell.
we
Okay.
have- Oh, okay, we've done that.
Okay. So we're going to have 3 votes here on the
Right.
motion for the condition, on the findings of fact, and then on the final action. So, Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes. And now I'd like to have a motion to accept the findings of fact.
Second.
And I didn't see who that was.
Michael Rivera.
Michael. Okay, thank you.
And by that, you're meaning the findings of fact as set forth in the staff report?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes. Staff report.
And then a second. Was that, sorry?
I second it.
Oh, okay.
That was,
Ms. Harris, motion. Sorry. Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
and Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes. Can we have a motion to pass the variance?
I make the motion to pass the variance.
And
Second.
that's with the added condition about screening, correct?
Yes.
I second.
And that was Mr. Straza?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes.
I hope I didn't miss anybody there. Did I get everybody?
Ms. Straza.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too many Michaels.
Okay, Z1620 is passed. We close that case. Let's go on to Z1820. A public hearing, review, and action on a petition for a variance submitted by Carrie Stritchlow for the approval of a variance to reduce separation requirement between a swimming pool and the principal structure to install a new pool covered deck at 107 Parkview Drive, Bloomington, Illinois, 61701, Ward 5. So can we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chairperson Harris. Staff is recommending in favor of the variance for a decrease in the setback between the swimming pool and the principal structure. Here's a photo of subject property. It is a single-family home. The property abuts the Ewing Park, and there's actually a creek that runs behind it. So there's no neighbors to it's kind of the northwest of the property. It is zoned R1B, which is our medium density single family zoning district, and it's adjacent to other R1B properties. The lot's about a third of an acre in size. As I mentioned, it abuts a park and a stream, and then is surrounded by other single family homes. Here's just some photos of the adjacent uses as well, and the adjacent homes. So the property has a swimming pool currently, but it is an above ground pool. It's located in the rear yard. The applicant is requesting the variance to allow them to put in an in-ground pool and also add on a covered porch, not an enclosed porch, but a covered porch. And so there are some physical hardships associated with this specific lot. In addition to the stream that runs behind the lot, there is also a 24-inch sanitary sewer that bisects the property that's shown on the aerial in on the right-hand side of the screen. The existing swimming pool actually is built on top of that sewer and within the easement that the sewer is located. So the proposed swimming pool will remove the obstruction from the easement and from on top of this sewer. But because that sewer is there and that easement is there, the pool has to be located. The pool cannot be located further into the rear yard. So here's the site plan and the proposed addition. You know, ideally they would be able to move the pool back further away from the principal structure, but because of that easement in the sewer, the pool is actually pushed closer towards the home. And the proposed porch is still within the rear yard setback of 30 feet. But really that sewer is kind of dictating where the accessory structure, the pool, we treat it like an accessory structure, but where that could go. So staff is recommending in favor because there's physical hardship related to that sanitary sewer and that easement that forces the pool to be located closer to the principal structure. You know, that sanitary sewer was put in. It's very common that the sewers will follow the same path as streams. So that makes sense that the sewer is there, but the sewer is actually is creating this need for the variance. And also the easement, because if that sewer breaks, the city needs to be able to access it. And so we try to eliminate any obstructions that might get in the way of maintaining our infrastructure. Staff is recommending in favor. I can answer any questions. The applicant is also on the call, and we have not received any additional registration for testimony on this item, and no one else is here from the public to speak on the item. So just the applicant. We did also receive a letter in support. Let me pull that up for you and share that. That was from an adjacent property owner. Yes, thank you. If I can figure out technology here.
Was there a variance required for an above ground pool, and was a variance given for the pool to be above a sewer?
I'm not sure the history about that. I did not see any on the property for the variances with the above ground pool. It's also possible that it was missed when the permit was issued. The applicant might be able to provide some more background about that. I didn't see anything in our records though.
Thank you. So can we read Scott Styling's statement put in the record?
Yes, we received this letter to whom it may concern. I'm in support of granting the petitions, the requested variations and reducing the separation requirement. And I truly feel it will not impact the quality of life to the adjoining properties. I am in support of said petition. We'll mark that as an exhibit, George.
Good.
Thank you. Are there any other comments about the staff report? Or questions? If not, can we move to vote? Have a motion to vote on for the staff report?
Well, the applicant is on the line. Is that correct, Katie?
Yes.
Would they like to testify? I mean, maybe we should offer
this is Ryan Scrichlow at 107 Parkview Drive, and I do swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
On my application, I just wanted to clarify under variance requested, our posts will be 5 feet from the pool, but our house has a large overhang that's 2 feet. So depending on if you measure from the post or the overhang, we're either requesting a 5 or a 3 foot.
Typically, we would measure the setback from the from the foundation, but I think the clarification is important.
Okay, that's all I needed unless anybody's got questions.
So I guess Chairwoman Harris had asked with regard to the prior structure, which is probably, it's irrelevant to this request and its variance, but just as a common question, was there a variance on the pool over the sewer prior?
I have no idea. It was here when we bought the property.
Good.
Thank you.
Motion.
No more questions or comments?
I set a motion to accept the staff findings of fact as is.
Second.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes.
Okay, then I make a motion to accept the variance as requested.
I second it.
Second.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Motion
Thank you.
ceased to 1820 passes. Okay. Is there any other business? Any new business? I move to adjourn the meeting at, what is it, 5:28?
I second.
1 second, please. Move. Second. Mr. Ballatini,
Yes.
Mr. McFarland,
Yes.
Mr. Straza,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
and Chairperson Harris.
Yes.
Your meeting is adjourned at 5:28.
Thank you very much.